Iran absolutely decimated critical US and Israeli forward operating bases this week in a calculated 5-hour assault. 5 hours. Just think about that. Now understand what this means. Initial reports confirm the strategic destruction of at least 2 AN/TPY-2 radar systems deployed for advanced ballistic missile detection. Each of these units represents over $300 million in cutting-edge sensor technology. That is not just a monetary loss. That is a gaping hole in early warning capability, a suddenly blind eye watching a very dangerous sky. The precision targeting indicates a level of intelligence gathering and operational planning far beyond what many analysts previously credited Iran with. The radar systems took 11 years to develop, and there is no immediate replacement in the supply chain. This is the part no one is saying out loud. And let me be precise. The offensive employed a mixed swarm of Shahed 136 class loitering munitions and what appears to be a limited but devastating number of Fata-2 hypersonic glide vehicles. We are looking at a saturation attack profile where hundreds of low-cost drones acted as decoys and first-wave distractions, forcing defensive systems to expend valuable interceptors. The Shahed 136 drones individually cost around $20,000 to produce. Stacked against that, the cost of each Patriot PAC-3 interceptor fired is roughly $3 million. We are talking about an economic imbalance designed to bleed the defender dry before the heavy hitters even arrive. That is not an accident. That is a strategy. And when those Fata-2 vehicles arrived, they were likely targeting the now depleted or overwhelmed Patriot and Iron Dome batteries. A single Fata-2 estimated at perhaps $2 million delivered a payload that crippled critical command and control nodes within the targeted bases. Multiple sources indicate the destruction of at least 6 Iron Dome launchers and 2 Patriot system engagement control stations. The ripple effect on regional air defense posture is immediate and severe. What was the true operational cost of this blitz? Quick, before we go further, huge thanks for being here. Your support keeps this running. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Hit like, turn on notifications. It genuinely helps. Now let's get into it. Enerchen. Most people assume the sophisticated air defense umbrella protecting these crucial assets was virtually impenetrable. The reality is that assumption was just shattered, and here is why that gap is the most dangerous thing happening right now. For years, the narrative has been that any Iranian aggression would be met with an overwhelming conventional response. The perceived superiority in air defense was central to that deterrence, but Iran didn't try to go toe-to-toe. They went around. They flooded the zone with cheap, abundant systems, forcing the most expensive and advanced interceptors to engage targets that cost less than a new car. They used electronic warfare suites to blind and confuse. They then exploited those momentary windows of vulnerability with high-speed precision strikes. This isn't about brute force. This is about strategic asymmetry, and it exposed a fundamental flaw in the layered defense concept when facing a determined and innovative adversary. The myth of an impenetrable shield has been thoroughly debunked. This is what that tells you. Let's look at the domino chain that now begins to fall. The immediate consequence is a severe degradation of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities across a critical swath of the theater. Without those forward sensors, the ability to track Iranian missile launches, monitor ground movements, and gather real-time intelligence is drastically reduced. This creates a significant blind spot. That is the first domino. The second domino to fall is the erosion of response time and operational readiness. With key bases damaged or rendered inoperable, the projection of power becomes slower, more cumbersome, and significantly riskier. Aircraft must operate from further away, refueling assets are stretched thin, and resupply lines become more vulnerable. This doesn't just impact immediate retaliation, it impacts the entire regional strategy. The third domino is the perceived weakening of alliances and deterrence. If these critical bases can be struck with such apparent impunity in a 5-hour window, what message does that send to other regional partners? It raises urgent questions about the reliability of the security umbrella and could lead to a reevaluation of allegiances and strategic postures across the Gulf states. The psychological impact here is immense. Now watch. Here is what we know right now. We have clear satellite imagery confirming extensive damage to runways, hangars, and communication infrastructure at several forward operating locations. We know Iran has publicly claimed responsibility, touting the operational success of its new missile and drone technologies. We know there has been no immediate public retaliatory strike from either Washington or Jerusalem. The silence from official channels is deafening in its implications. What we don't know, however, is far more unsettling. We don't have verified casualty figures, a critical piece of information that would shape any response. We don't know the full extent of the intelligence lost, the data stolen or corrupted by these strikes. We don't know what specific operational protocols were breached or what countermeasures failed. And crucially, we don't know the true state of readiness before this assault, a factor that will define future strategic planning. This lack of transparency only fuels speculation and fear. What was the true operational cost of this blitz? And stay with me. The historical parallel here is stark, though the scale and actors differ significantly. Think back to the initial hours of the Yom Kippur War. Egyptian forces launched a massive surprise attack across the Suez Canal, assaulting the Bar-Lev Line. The Bar-Lev Line was considered an impregnable defensive barrier, a symbol of Israeli military superiority. It was designed to withstand a conventional assault, but the Egyptians used an innovative combination of engineering, anti-tank missiles, and infantry tactics to breach it in hours. The psychological shock, the operational surprise, and the initial overwhelming success against a perceived strong defense created a completely new reality on the ground. This Iranian blitz shares that same core mechanism, a rapid, overwhelming assault designed to exploit a perceived vulnerability against a seemingly unassailable defense, creating a new status quo almost instantly. Now understand what this means for other global players. China, for instance, is watching this with absolute laser focus. Beijing has been investing heavily in anti-access area denial capabilities for years. The success of Iran's relatively inexpensive drones and missiles against advanced Western defense systems validates a core tenet of China's strategy for a potential conflict in the Pacific. They are analyzing every single detail of how these systems penetrated and destroyed targets. They are calculating the implications for a Taiwan scenario, specifically how a large swarm of drones and hypersonic missiles could overwhelm U.S. carrier groups and air bases in the region. This isn't just a regional spat for them. This is a live fire test of their own doctrine. Russia, too, is drawing its own conclusions. They have their own asymmetric weapon systems, their own drone programs. The perceived failure of Western air defense systems provides invaluable data for their own military planners and potentially for their export markets. It offers a powerful narrative that advanced Western technology is not invincible. They will be looking to sell similar capabilities to their allies, showcasing how they can level the playing field against technologically superior adversaries. Let me be precise about the cost equation. For Iran to launch hundreds of Shahed 136s at approximately $20,000 each, and perhaps a dozen Fateh 2s at roughly $2 million each, their total expenditure for the entire 5-hour operation was likely in the range of $20 to $50 million. Now compare that to the immediate tangible losses on the US-Israeli side. The two AN/TPY-2 radar systems alone are worth over $600 million. The 6 Iron Dome launchers and 2 Patriot engagement stations represent billions more. And that's before we even consider the cost of damaged aircraft, on the ground infrastructure repair, medical costs, and the staggering cost of replacing these high-tech defense assets. We are talking about an asymmetric cost ratio easily exceeding 1 to 100, perhaps even 1 to 200. This math is unsustainable over time. It means for every dollar the defender spends to counter the threat, the attacker spends